When we begin to look, really look, beneath the surface of the Gospels, we find something quietly radiant, moments that shimmer at the edges of the narrative, encounters that carry a different kind of power, not loud or forceful, but deeply transformative. These are the stories of women, and they're not always center stage, but their presence is unmistakable if you know where to look. There's the woman with the alabaster jar. She walks into a room full of men, uninvited and undeterred. She carries something precious and she breaks it open. Not just the jar, but her heart. She kneels and anoints Yeshua's feet, wiping them with her hair, pouring out more than perfume. Her tenderness fills the room with discomfort. But Yeshua sees the beauty of it. He defends her. He honors her gesture. He says what she has done will be remembered. For centuries, the church told us this woman was Mary Magdalene, but she was not. The falsehoods and misinterpretations surrounding Mary Magdalene will be explored in another video. And now we meet another woman, a Samaritan woman, the woman at the well, alone in the heat of the day. She comes with a jar, but also with a story, one marked by rejection, whispers, and waiting. She is weary, but not invisible. Yeshua meets her there, with no accusation, but with mystery. He speaks of living water, of worship in spirit and truth, and something in her awakens. She leaves her jar behind. What she came for no longer matters, and she becomes the first to carry his message to others. There's the woman who has been bleeding for 12 years, labeled unclean, kept at a distance, barely a shadow in the crowd, but she dares to reach just the hem of his cloak. That's all she needs. And healing flows. Yeshua stops, not to rebuke, but to see her, to honor her faith, to call her daughter. She is no longer cast out. She is restored. And then there are Mary and Martha of Bethany, sisters who show us another face of the sacred feminine. Martha, busy with loving service, offering her home and heart. Mary, sitting at Yeshua's feet, opening herself to his words and wisdom. They remind us that the feminine is not just about healing or witness. It's about friendship, presence, and the courage to choose love in all its forms. There are the women at the foot of the cross, Mary, his mother, Mary Magdalene, and the other women who had followed him from Galilee. When the others had fled, they remained. They stood in the shadow of his suffering. They watched. They wept. They bore witness. With hearts breaking open, they stayed. Love did not run. It remained. There are the women at the tomb, Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James, and Salome. They show up early, just as the sun rises. They're carrying spices, but really, they're carrying love. They're holding grief in their hands, but also devotion. And the stone, the one they were worried about, it's already rolled away. The tomb is empty. They're the first ones to see it, the first to know something's happened, the first to be told, the first to be sent. And that matters, because it was to them, not the men, not the priests, to them that the truth was first revealed. It is to them that the light speaks. And Mother Mary, She's not there at the tomb, but that does not mean she's not present. She's there in a different way, quiet, steady. She's the one who already knew. She did not need to see the empty tomb to believe. She believed through everything, the birth, the death, and beyond. She's the one who carried him once in her body and never stopped carrying him in her heart. She doesn't need signs. She is the sign. So we've talked about these holy moments where the divine and human meet through the women in Yeshua's story. But there's one moment we really cannot overlook: the appearance of the resurrected Yeshua to Mary Magdalene. This is huge, the very heart of the New Testament's message. Mary Magdalene isn't just a bystander here. She is the first to see Yeshua alive again, the first to witness the resurrection itself. And Yeshua chooses to reveal himself to her first, entrusting her with the news that changes everything. She becomes the first messenger, the first bearer of this new hope. And that alone flips the usual story on its head. A woman is given the most sacred role, the first to carry the good news forward. It is a radical moment, and it tells us a lot about the power and presence of the sacred feminine in the heart of this story. These women, when they came to Yeshua, they weren't there to analyze everything, to figure out every detail, or solve every mystery. They came simply to be near him, to be present. And they didn't just bring questions. They brought their whole selves, their stories, their struggles, their hopes. What strikes me is how they moved with such deep intuition and faith. It wasn't about having all the answers. They just showed up, trusting with their whole bodies and hearts. They said yes without needing to fully understand. They brought what they had, their oil, their pain, their presence, and that was enough. And they were not afraid to reach out, to touch him, or to be touched by his love and healing. That courage and openness, that's the feminine in its fullest expression. Receptive, devoted, grounded in the reality of the body, but always open to the movement of spirit. Sometimes the most sacred moments are quiet, a touch offered, a moment of courage to stay when others flee, or the silent tears shed by the cross. These are the small, powerful acts that hold the mystery of love and grace. For such a long time, the story we've been told is that these women were kind of secondary, maybe supportive, but never really central to what was happening. But what if that's not the whole truth? What if these women were never meant to be in the background at all? What if, instead, they were quietly holding the main thread of the story all along? When we look at these moments, the woman with the alabaster jar, the woman at the well, the bleeding woman, Mary and Martha of Bethany, the women at the cross and at the tomb, these aren't just random details scattered here and there. They are like breadcrumbs, little invitations sprinkled through the Gospels, inviting us to remember something bigger, something whole. They ask us to recognize that divine love is not one-dimensional. It moves in many ways. It holds both mission and mystery, voice and silence. It's not about replacing the masculine, It's about balancing it, completing it, filling in what's been missing or unseen. So here we are, coming back to the stories, reading them again, listening again, but this time not with doubt or suspicion, but with reverence. And when we do that, when we open our hearts this way, we start to see what was actually there all along. The sacred feminine woven through every healing, every touch, every tear, every act of love that never wavered.